Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Did everyone get your snacks and your drinks? Did you get your free books, first of all? And everyone knows you can get 5 free books today now, right? Yes, go back upstairs, get some more, okay? Otherwise, it goes to my apartment, and that's a lot in my apartment. Anywho, welcome to the annual Blasian March Book Fair. Wow. I'm just really losing my emotions right now because this actually does mark our 5-year anniversary of the Blasian March. So, okay, are you ready for some performance art, some shows? Yeah. All right. I would love to bring up first Olivia, Valwaa, and the Shakti dancers. Olivia is an Indo-Caribbean transgender woman from Guyana and is the founder of Shakti Dancers, an Indo-Caribbean cultural dance group featuring trans and non-binary performers. Olivia is a trans rights activist who advocates for the queer and trans community in the city and state level here in New York City. She works with the LGBTQ plus community to bring awareness, acceptance, inclusion, and equity to the entire community. Oh, also, Olivia made history when she became the very first trans woman to perform on the main stage in the annual Valwaa celebration in 2023 in our very own Little Guyana, Richmond Hills, Queens. Yes. All right, she believes that all human beings deserve the right to exist and express themselves however they feel comfortable, especially queer and trans youth who are in most cases underrepresented. Let's give it up for Olivia and the Shakti dancers.
Shake it, baby, shake it, and go down to the ground. Shake it, baby, shake it, and wind down to the ground. Shake up your whole body and chunk it all around. Hey!
Hey, hey, hey! Shake that waist, girl. Shake that waist, girl. Move that waist, girl. Move that waist, girl. Shake that waist, girl. Shake that waist, girl. Move that waist, girl.
Baby, shake it and go down to the ground. Shake it, baby, shake it and wind down to the ground. Shake up your whole body and chunk it all around.
Shake it, baby, shake it, go down to the ground. Shake it, baby, shake it and wind down to the ground. Shake up your whole body and chunk it all around.
Shake it, baby, shake it and go down to the ground. Shake it, baby, shake it and wind down to the ground. Shake up your whole body and chunk it all around.
Time to wind and shake it, shake your body and make it. Hold down low and then take it. Take control and then shake, 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 shake. Roll it, roll up your waist and curl it. Roll up your hands and shake it. Wind and go down and shake, 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 shake.
Feel it in the air from the time I wake. Spirits come alive when we celebrate. What we bring to life to happen every day. Is a kind of high that they can replicate. This stage is we own. I feel this place is we
Look at the girl shake it, all over town shake it. It's
I get a trans liberation in the house? Oh my God. That's the Blasian March vibes, by the way. All right, are we ready to get some nice sultry poetry? Yes. All right, make some noise for Magenta. Magenta, pronouns she, they. Yes, is a multi-dimensional artist, creative writer, and workshop bae from Brooklyn. Their art explores Black femme embodiment, Afro-diasporic mythology, Black imagination, Afro-surrealism, and intense Scorpio Sag sensuality. Yes! Magenta's writing is published in the Planet's Journal, the Iowa Review, Catapult, Carve Magazine, Teen Vogue, and more platforms. Magenta is composing her first book, a collection of poems, essays, and portraits that explore how shape-shifting, auto-myth, and time travel can open portals in the body. When Magenta isn't daydreaming, she's creating obscure playlists, learning contemporary dance, creating fairy tales with their body, and watching cartoons. Make some noise from Magenta.
Can you hear me? Okay, hi. That performance was so beautiful. Where's Olivia? Okay, well, wherever she is, that was gorgeous. So I have a few ideas about what happens when we die, where our consciousness goes when we face the onyx abyss behind our eyelids. By consciousness, I mean soul, spirit, mind. Do you want to take a walk within my mind? What's in your head? And speaking of head, how do you like to get it? And give it. Because if you can ask for the pleasure you seek in the exact way you crave it, then you can imagine an afterlife in the shape of your thoughts. And if you can give someone else pleasure, I mean the kind of ecstasy that teleports their body to paradise, then pulls them back to your bed before a fatal exhale, then you know the map to the afterlife. See, my first theory is that whatever your mind believes is truth is where your soul will find itself. My mom, like most Black moms, believes she's going to heaven. No, she knows it. Every prayer for her loved ones and well-wish for her haters gets her one step closer to the pearly gates. My dad, like most Black dads, thinks he's already in hell, that the world is custom tailored with demons who are there to torture him, and because of that, he unintentionally tortured us. Heaven and hell has always disappointed me. Two wildly opposite dimensions with no room for restorative justice, abolition, conflict resolution, repair. I suspect that my mom's true afterlife vision is an extravagant family dinner, where every loved one she's lost to a mortal demise, like sickness, old age, or witchcraft, because we're Ghanaian and she's superstitious, and every friend who succumbed to the natural cycles of life, like drifting apart or a misplaced phone book, is invited to sit at a large table and eat all of her favorite dishes and laugh at their fondest memories until their bellies swell with jollof rice, japchae, and iced matcha lattes. And I think my father actually hopes that his afterlife is music. Ever since I was a kid, I watched him get lost in the melodies of Angela Bofill, Teddy Pendergrass, and Dinah Washington. I imagine his soul soaring along the sapphire street of a good blues tune, or the zigzagging waves of a jazz song, or the harmonious hills of a house track. I got friends who find the secret to immortality in the ripples of our laughter and enlightenment within the arms of chosen family. My best friend's theory is that our bones and blood becomes mushroom cuisine for mushroom to enjoy. Maybe the memories our million skeletons share with fungi is why mushrooms are so damn delicious and adaptogenic. And maybe that's why shrooms are so trippy, because we're getting high off the consciousness of ghosts. My other best friend said they can feel their loved one's presence in their home after they died. One morning, their grandmother reflected herself as sparks of glitter on the wall. One night, their other grandmother sat beside them on their bed while they slept. Maybe the afterlife is a portal where our loved ones can check on us as they please. All right, on to my second theory, reincarnation. Shout out to my grandpa who put me onto that when I was just a little kid. He believed that we can come back as an animal, plant, insect, or even another human being. I'll take this idea one step further and imagine that I can become something mythical or mystical, like a phoenix with wings that burn so that I can evolve. I'm a Scorpio, so I do that shit already. I burn and bubble and rebirth on the regular. I want to be a centaur in a high-waist bodysuit and stripper heels, frolicking in a botanic garden. Or a mermaid bathing my titties under the moonlight. I want to be the voice in someone's head that gives them a new idea, or the shout urging them to keep fighting for their life in this fucked up labyrinth we call America. I want to be the whisper that tells you it's okay to call that person you miss because I was just in their head and they miss you too. Or a spirit guide on someone's spirit team, arguing that our human has gone through enough trials. It's time for some wins. Or maybe I can be a cloud. I'll cry when shit gets too heavy, and my tears will be exactly what the earth needs. I'll quench the thirst of flowers and wet the bodies of lovers kissing under me. Matter of fact, I want to go back to the blackest place I know, the sky in the middle of the night, because every nigga is a star. One more theory. Some friends believe that the afterlife is nothing, a void, oblivion. This both disturbs me and inspires me. I wrote this poem because I'm too concerned with death. It's everywhere. From genocides in Palestine the Congo and Sudan, to the ongoing murders and brutalities against Black people in America, especially Black trans women. This can't all be for nothing. There must be a transformative element to all this death and loss, a reason for the rampage. Nothingness makes me believe more in everything, so maybe nothing does have a function. Maybe nothingness can teach us everything we struggle to learn. So I have a test for myself to ensure that what I hope for awaits me in the next realm. This poem is not just a list of theories. It's not just philosophy that's wrapped up in an oral sex joke. It's a spell for my soul to break. See, I believe that time is a soundtrack of spirals, a parable of parallel dimensions. memories that collide under our fingertips. And with this belief, my soul can travel back and forth through my life whenever she wants. That means today already happened. I've been read you this poem. I lived a life full of love, pain, music, and orgasms. I peeled back the layers of my skin to extract fairy tales from my bones. I fought for people. I fought against them. I fought for us. We fought for us. We dismantled systems, reclaimed neighborhoods lost to gentrification, abolished prisons, fed the hungry and listened to their stories of starving, reframed disability not as something to avoid and dread, but as the compass, the center, the rubric for living lives filled with care, comfort, mutual aid, and community support. We ended genocides. We ended transphobia. We rewrote our government from the ground up. We conjured roots from our past to grow new trees of thought. We won. Then we died, and new lives began. And I died. My spirit is here, time traveling to whisper the answer to the afterlife into the grooves of my brain and the crevices of my heart. And just as soon as I get an answer, they will me to forget, because although I like to know everything, my spirit still wants me to be surprised. After all, a theory is just a vanishing secret you tell yourself, returning to you in a division of stories, elusive dreams, and spectral visitations that you can't quite reach, but when you see it, you recognize. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for Magenta. All the tingles, all the feels. Free the Congo, free Sudan, free Palestine, disability justice. Ooh, climate justice, trans liberation, all the liberations. Manifesting it in this room. Woo! All right. Are you ready for the next number? Okay, yes. If I can look up their bio. All right, make some noise. Well, first of all, I gotta preface this. Actually, make some noise, whatever. Make some noise for me. So I am so excited to bring this artist back. We had them in 2022 during our Blasian Pride rally for migrant justice. It's my joy, honor, and pleasure to welcome back the Illustrious Pearl. Pronouns they, them. The Illustrious Pearl is a poet and drag artist. They are, you are a winner, baby. They are a winner of the Night Boat Poetry Prize. And yes, clap for them. Okay, yes, baby. Where was I? Oh, and they are the author of Togetherness. Highly recommend it. As a member of the, come on, Brooklyn. As a member of the Brooklyn-based drag burlesque collective Switch and Play. Pearl has performed at venues including the Whitney Museum of American Art, National Sawdust, New York Life Arts, and the Architectural Digest Expo. Find them at the Illustrious Pearl. Make some noise!
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each target course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that. And may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a woman? What has she got? If not herself, then she has not to say the things she truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my
Get this party started on a Saturday night. Everybody's waiting for me to arrive. I got lots of style, check my gold diamond rings. I can go for miles if you know what I mean. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Sending out the message to all of my friends. We'll be looking flashy in my Mercedes Benz. I got lots of
Keep it going for the Illustrious Pearl! Yes! Ooh, Lord. Ooh-wee. Okay, how's everyone feeling? Everyone's good? Okay. All right, it is time to bring it to the last number before the panel. So, let's make some noise and get the party started, I guess. For international dancer Zaman. Woo. They are a queer Indo-Caribbean Guyanese Muslim artist, commonly known as international dancer Zaman, pronounced he, him, they, and the drag-centric activist Sundari, the Indian goddess, pronounced she, her, they. Okay, come on now. With the combination of 22 years of wisdom, expertise, and award-winning experiences and performances, founded Zamandari LLC. Okay, entrepreneur. Centered around deconstructing anti-trans and anti-queer stigmas through artistic mediums. Okay. Zaman is a pioneer of his artistry and humanitarian work, breaking barriers across New York State and beyond. He has a theater background, and information technology, and is trained in Kathak, Odissi, Bollywood, Bhangra, and Chutney dance styles. Also a history maker, now. Zaman is the first openly gay Indo-Caribbean dance artist in New York City. Okay, now. All right. You good, babe? All right. Let's bring it home, honey. Make some noise for international dancer Zaman.
We go down memory lane, check out them days again. Remember learning how to ride a bike and learning how to cuss. Drinking coconut water in the country that your belly daily bust. And the first time you wear long pants and feel like a man. Remember when Ramadan and Valentine beat England? Hiding in the backyard, smoking a cigarette. And when they give you castor oil, you're living in the toilet. I remember still, and I always will. Time cannot be erased. Boyhood days.
रे मेघा मेघा बरसो रे मेघा बरसो रे तैर के चली मैं तो पार चली रे तैर के चली मैं तो पार चली पार वाले पर लेके नार चली रे मेघा नन्ना रे 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 नन्ना
जब गोरी ने गिराया घूंघटा तो जाने मुझे क्या हो गया जब गोरी ने गिराया घूंघटा तो जाने मुझे क्या हो गया पहले दिल फिर चैन फिर निंदिया पहले दिल फिर चैन फिर निंदिया सब कुछ मेरा खो गया
जब सैया ने उठाया घूंघटा तो जाने मुझे क्या हो गया जब सैया ने उठाया घूंघटा तो जाने मुझे क्या हो गया पहले दिल फिर चैन फिर निंदिया पहले दिल फिर चैन फिर निंदिया सब कुछ मेरा खो गया
जब गोरी ने गिराया घूंघटा तो जाने मुझे क्या हो गया तो जाने मुझे क्या हो गया सर की जो सर से वो धीरे धीरे पागल हुआ रे मैं धीरे धीरे तेरी चुनरिया दिल ले गई सर से वो धीरे धीरे पागल हुआ रे मैं धीरे धीरे तेरी चुनरिया दिल ले गई तेरी ये बिंदिया दिल ले गई
Some people just feel important when they have a whole bag of friends. But I prefer quality over quantity. You know why? I don't care for all the crowd around me. Good friend better than pocket money. With pure heart and good energy. Good friend better than pocket money. Forget all the haters and envy. Good friend better than pocket money. That is all we need in the company. Yeah, yeah.
There is no such thing as pushing back too hard on me. No, don't tell me that. There's no such thing as getting on too hard on me.
Everybody and them with. Everybody rock them with. Everybody flag them with. Everybody something with. No stop, boss. Stay right there. Don't move. Show the spirit discipline. Don't shake. Show the spirit discipline. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. 4, 3, 2, everybody and them with. Everybody rock them with. Everybody flag them with. Everybody something with. No stop. Music in my blood. Can you feel the spirit calling? Music in my blood. Can you hear the spirit calling? I love the feel the rhythm beating like it's one heartbeat. Everybody follow me. 2 beat left. Everybody 2 beat left. Everybody 2 beat left. Everybody 2 beat left. To the right. To the right. 2 beat right. Let me go. Let me go. Everybody 2 beat right. To the right. To the right. Everybody 2 beat right. One yeah. Everybody 2 beat right. To the right. To the right. Music in my blood. Can you feel the spirit calling? Music in my blood. Can you hear the spirit calling? I love the feel the rhythm beating like it's one heartbeat.
All right. Whew. Good afternoon. Yeah. See, today could not be possible with this incredible artist, incredible human being, incredible activist, an individual who we have all are blessed to share this space with today. And while we are the entertainers, this could not be possible without you. Thank you to all the partners. Come on, y'all. Give it up for him. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up for Rohan. Yes, give it up. Give it up. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And you deserve all of this. You know, you deserve this and the entire United States and more.
Oh my God. Let's give it a
From your homeland in advocating for our people, not only LGBTQI plus communities, but your identity in who you are culturally, right? Many times I advocate for Indo-Caribbeans, Caribbean diaspora. How many Caribbeans we got in here? Hey, right? I'm from Guyana, and seeing individuals who comes with multiple identities, multiple intersectional race, dynamic, culture, religion, and even sexual orientations, right? You hold all of that in this beautiful body. Right? Girl, look at them legs, right? And I want you to know that you have created an impact not only in our communities, but especially in the arts. It's been 2 to 3 years now I was slated to perform here.
Yes.
It's been 3 years of him asking me, Zaman, you ready? Zaman, you're available. Sundari, are you ready? But I always say, and I believe this in my heart, when your time is ready and when you are ready, the doors will open. Mother Earth will open for you. And your time is here. Your time has been here. And you're doing this work wholeheartedly, right? And it takes a team of people. Someone mentioned this to me yesterday. They said to me, Zaman, while you face challenges in community, life, family, know that you are not alone. And it takes a team of people to do this. While you may be the sole organizer and many partners, I see our dear friends of South Queens Women's March is here. I see our dear friends over at Caribbean Equality Project is here, and so many other community partners are partnering to continue this work. But the visionary, it takes vision. And as artists, as fellow artists, it takes vision. And we know what vision is all about, to be creative. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to returning maybe next year in drag. Oh, yeah! Right? Maybe next year as Sundari, the Indian goddess. And maybe next year or the year after, I bring my dance team. Right? And I always love to uplift the individuals we are working with, because without uplifting them, they made us who we are. And interacting with y'all, and thank you so much for joining, right? Because it's not just about performing. It's about sharing that work with people and making sure that they feel included. That's what entertainment is about. Entertainment is about sharing your culture, your art, your creativeness, your creative expression with others so they can see themselves and be part of that. So thank you for making us part of today. Thank you for making us part of today and including this demographic of people. Thank you so much. I love you.
Love you, oh my God. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, y'all. Enjoy the rest of the evening and the afternoon.
Next one is for Zaman. Oh, I need a minute, y'all. No, I truly appreciated that. That was so, okay. Okay, emotions. Oh, do you want your flag back? Oh, I mean, I'm gay already, but you know. I mean, you see this. All right, we are at the next hour. So stick around in a few minutes, bring us to our panel. Hi! Oh my God, okay, sorry, it's someone I rest. I get very excited when I see my friends, so please don't mind if I start squealing out of control. So in a few minutes, we're gonna start our panel that will feature Cathy Linh Che. Let's see, Jennifer Baker, oh my God, Jennifer Goodman, different Jennifer. Jennifer Baker. Carmen LoBue, and the moderator, Daphne, Lundi. Stick around. Don't forget to go upstairs. You can get up to 5 books now if you haven't heard the news. You better get back up on my books, girl. Because if you don't get them, they all go to my apartment, and we all know how New York apartments are, right? So please take books. Okay, see you in a few minutes.
How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing with the rain? Everybody staying dry, staying present? What a beautiful day so far. Internally, externally, a lot's going on, but internally, it's been a very beautiful day. My name is Daphne Lundi. I go by she, her. I'm so happy to be here and share space with these three folks. I'm really excited to dig into what it means to, use writing and other mediums as a form of creating space for solidarity. So I'm gonna just briefly introduce the panel, and then we can get into things. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Ready. Hi, Rohan. Hi. So to my left, my immediate left, is Carmen LoBue. They are an African-American Filipino filmmaker, writer, actor, and sacred artist, which is a beautiful way of describing oneself as a sacred artist. I love that energy. LoBue directed the coming-of-age web series Cheer Up Charlie, the award-winning film Pink and Blue, and Hulu's initiative 29, Your Attention Please. And their episode, Your Attention Please, Taole Joff, is now streaming. And LoBue is currently directing Miss Peppermint's Girl Like Me TV special on Out TV. And they also star as Dre on season 3 of The L Word Generation, the show's first non-binary character. So please introduce. Claps. Thank you. And to my next left? That sounds right. To my next left is Jennifer Baker. Welcome. Jennifer has over 20 years of experience in book publishing and is an instructor for Bay Pass University's Creative Nonfiction MFA program, as well as the creator and host of the podcast Minorities in Publishing. She was named, I feel like I have to pause to let it all sink in because everybody's bios are amazing. She was named the 2019 Publishers Weekly Star Watch Superstar because of her varied work championing diversity in publishing and has made her an indispensable fixture in the book business. Her YA novel, Forgive Me Not, is the 2023 Los Angeles Times Book Prize finalist and was included in New York Public Library's Best Books of 2023. Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, we're also joined by Cathy Linh Che. Cathy is a writer and multidisciplinary artist. She is the author of Becoming Ghost, Split, and the winner of the Kudamon Poetry Prize. And she is also the co-author with Kyle Lucia Wu of the children's book, An Asian American A to Z, A Children's Guide to Art History. Such a good book. Which is conveniently right there. Amazing. So thank you all so much for just making the time, going through the MTA on a very, very rainy day to join us today. So I just wanted to start with a question for all of you because you're all so interdisciplinary. You work across a variety of mediums, and I'm wondering if you could each talk about how storytelling has helped you navigate and articulate your own experiences with diversity, with identity, with race, belonging, all of those big things that shape us.
I can start on this one. Thank you for such a thoughtful question. I also want to plug that Cathy has a poetry book coming out in May.
What's the poetry book called?
That you can pre-order now. But yeah, it's interesting because I think it's also something where it's recognizing the complexity of identity, but also recognizing the harm that is coming from inside the house as well as outside the house, right? Mm-hmm. And so even being someone who deals with intersectionality, being a person of color, being all these things, right? you know, the way in which my family would even talk about other communities was one I didn't really recognize until I had to actually be outside, right? Like kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, college, and then you're in the workforce. And I was like, oh wow, we're surrounded by so many different communities. I'm born and raised from New York, Long Island. I was like born in Brooklyn, raised partially in Long Island. I represent Queens. I was in Brooklyn for all of a minute, but I'm a Queens gal, so that's the one I own more so than anything. But seeing how even my family was in one of the most diverse cities in the nation, and how we were still cloistered in this very kind of myopic mindset that I have to work through, right? Because this is my community, these are my friends, these will be, you know, lovers, partners, colleagues, in all these different ways. And so kind of unlearning that, which is a continual basis, and also kind of reckoning with that and using story, but also finding in story the ways that, you know, like learning about Yuri and her relationship with Malcolm, like how they had a lot of similar politics and they were talking, the ways in which so many, you recognize the ways that exclusion has affected all of us, and it's still doing so, and how we show up for one another. And so that was something I really had to learn, not just by being in community, but by being in community made me a better storyteller. And then being a better storyteller made me a better editor on top of that too. Because now when I edit, I work at a publisher and I acquire books. I have to engage with artists in that same way that I'm engaging with myself, and also be open to learning, because I don't know everything. I'm rarely the smartest person in the room. And also absorb that to continue to evolve as an artist, but evolve as a person. And so I think that's just like this ongoing journey. And they're like tactical things that I can talk about, but I don't want to take up more space in this within this wonderful group.
Thank you so much for that.
Where's it going? Where's it going?
Can you say the question one more time?
Sure. So the question is really thinking about how storytelling is a medium to navigate identity, race, solidarity, and maybe how that shows up in the different forms of storytelling that you explore.
Okay, I'll give you a very woo-woo answer. So I recently started studying Balinese mask, which as a Filipino is an interesting thing to decide, and I just took it because I was like, oh, I should become a clown. And then I started studying, and I realized that I really just wanted to fall back in love with acting and telling a story in as many ways as possible. And I learned that it is a spiritual practice. So there's a priest that goes and talks to trees, and that's specifically what this priest does. And then out of this living tree, they create a mask for you to wear. And when you put that mask on, there is a lot of ritual that goes along with it. And so you're kind of, you yourself and your ego disappears when you embody this mask, which could be an archetype, it could be, you don't know what you're gonna get, and there's no language, there's no pedestrian behavior that comes out of that experience. So I guess my woo response to, you know, how does, what is it, like my identity, or how does this? Storytelling. Yeah, I think storytelling is, the function that I learned about storytelling from mask is that the people who do mask and embody mask, they go into community, they listen to community without the mask on, and they just listen to the stories and the drama and the gossip of the community. And then they go away after everybody's good and drunk, and they put this mask on and they tell stories about the things that the community needs to work through. So I say that to say, I think that being an artist for me is less about, I need to, you know, talk about my trauma, and more about what shadow work am I doing that's illuminating the human condition, and how can I be of service to my community?
Thank you for that. Thank you both for your very interesting, important, different sorts of answers to think about this. I love having somebody who is you do acting work, right? Yeah, acting, directing work on this panel as well. I just recently stepped into filmmaking myself, and so I think that each medium provides a different mode for storytelling, and I am on some level satisfied with the simplicity of it. So the story that is both in my forthcoming poetry book and in the film is about my parents being refugees from Vietnam, ending up in the Philippines, and then from the refugee camp they were utilized as extras in the film Apocalypse Now. And so the film is really about moving them from the background to the center, to the foreground. And that to me is, a simple antidote to the feeling of erasure. And so the poetry book also embodies my family's voices, and it's more complex because in the film I really wanted to step out of the way because I spend so much of my life writing in English, talking about my feelings, and I want them to be able to speak. And my feelings, I think, are much more complex because it's knotted with all of these issues I have with my family that I don't really necessarily, in my mind, I wasn't ready to show in film this because I wanted the simple inversion. And I think in the same way that where you were talking about our communities and the inter-community complexity, I feel like that is an important space of when we're talking about Asian diasporic people, Vietnamese diasporic people, and their anti-X, anti-blackness, or sort of homophobia, or whatever it is in my community. That is something that I feel like is hard for me to want to even write down. Part of it is, do I even want to face it? Do I even want to put that into the world? Is that what I care about, putting into the world? But it is truthful. So it is something that is nascent to consider. It's like, but if we don't talk about it, how are we going to get through it? So I guess that's a component of it. And when it comes to solidarity, I think that is a big component of the identity work. It's like when I'm looking in the library at what is lacking and what the bigger narratives are out there, it felt like there is something purposefully being erased for the sake of, white supremacy and what we see happening now. So there is something utterly vital about our storytelling. And I just want to say that, I came from an MFA program, right, in poetry. And MFA programs in the United States have primarily been, the largest MFA program in the United States, or the oldest, is the Iowa Writers Workshop. And it was shaped by the CIA. Funded by the CIA in order to tell stories that are individual, material, middle class, stories about your family or yourself, in order to combat the idea that we actually are intertwined and to combat communism. So it was, the book is called, I think it's Workshops of Empire. I have to double check, but we are inheritors of this, and so part of our insistence on thinking about solidarities is because there is a national project in keeping us separate in all of these ways. The model minority myth was created by a white journalist. Like, that's how, before then, Asians were considered sort of, the tropes were like vermin, right? Until, there was an elevation of the model minority in order to create splinters within groups of people so that there would not be the power, that we have, because now, when people get together, there is so much more power. So I guess I think about that identity not as my own family story, which is important, you know, like very important, but it's also the, you know, it's literally like the state has a stake in making sure that culture looks a certain way so that we stay separate. Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate how in each of your answers you bring up this idea of storytelling as a conduit, as a way of truth-telling, as a way of embodiment, and as a way of really breaking down some of the divisions that I think you all have spoken really beautifully about. And I think to maybe pick up on the last point that you were making, Cathy, I'm wondering if we could talk a bit more about how storytelling can be that bridge builder. So there are so many things, and I'm gonna put my urban planner hat on. There are so many things that make us divided, literally, spatially, literally in terms of the stories we hear from family or the stories that we're told through sort of media conduits. So how can storytelling be that bridge builder? And maybe as a part of that question, I'd love to hear how that's come up in your own work, or how you're exploring that idea of bridge building in your own work.
I can start real quick. Because I wrote I had to go last because I had to think, but because I wrote a children's book about Asian American history. I think what was vital was there's a lost story of Asian American history, which is that we wouldn't be here without the civil rights movement. Like, Asian Americans would not be in the United States without primarily Black folks fighting for the liberation of all people. It was, it was a lot of, the civil rights movement was also, women's liberation. Like, there was women's liberation and, a brown rights movement, as well as, indigenous rights. And so it's not isolated, but it was very much led in this country by Black folks. And so that is something that I feel is a story that had been purposefully buried, I think, in all of these ways, especially not taught in K through 12 education. It was, part of the purpose of writing this book was to bridge that gap of knowledge that I experienced as a young person, and to create models that history has had, and so I guess that's fundamental to the writing project, is that there have been spaces that exist already, and there are models. So that's the other thing. I think we're trying so hard to imagine a way to fight fascism, but we actually have models behind us all over the world of how people have fought and decolonized and, fought racist, white supremacist spaces, and fought all kinds of things. And so I do think that there is something about the American fabric that there is, in the ways that I mentioned the CIA, there's something purposeful that has been created to make us feel very isolated and powerless. And I feel like the stories that we have to tell in remembering and bringing forth and imagining something new as alongside all of our ancestral knowledge, I feel like there is so much potential for us to feel like we're sharing information in this amazing medium that we have, and for us to feel empowered in our storytelling and to tell new stories rather than to tell sort of the stories of the state. Yeah.
Do you want to go, or you can go? Oh, okay, great. I want to come at this from two spaces. One is when the intention, which can be, intentions, right? Good intention, that well-intentioned person can provide you something and you still don't take it. And the moment, even when I pursue storytelling and with Forgive Me Not, how I wanted to engage with young people, but also that I wanted educators to engage with young people talking about juvenile detention and carceral systems impacting Black and brown communities. So 2020, we all know what happened. We were there. But the How to Be Anti-Racist, that book, right? That book sold millions of copies that year, and I work at it again, but at the time I worked at the publisher that had published the book. And so millions of copies, like you couldn't keep it in stock, people were pissed they couldn't get it, it was wild, right? Like booksellers were tweeting about people being mad at them, et cetera, et cetera. And so everyone was getting these books about anti-racism, like I want an anti-racist book, I want an anti-racist book. You know, I was in kind of forced book clubs about it because they're like, we're gonna read it, we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna go to it, we're gonna work on ourselves, and I'm just like, I got stuff to do. Like, not to say I can't learn, but I was just like, this feels like not a group project. Like, this doesn't seem like a group project right this moment, right? And so, what do we see after that? How many people quote it? How many people learned from it? How many people actually read these books? These books sold, so if you're on the other end of that as the seller, and the person, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that the people who wrote those books didn't have the intentionality of, I want this book to do something. But if people aren't reading it, or if people are reading it upon being forced or because of this moment, what are you taking from it that you are carrying through your life? And I was seeing this up close, working with folks, crying in meetings, doing this stuff, all these things, and I'm just like, but you're not really taking from this. And then we see where we are right now, right? Literally 5 years later, after like shutdown and all that stuff, right? So that's one case where like storytelling, you know, you can have access, which we do have access to all the things, and even if you literally have it in your house, you can read something and not take much from it. Because then you just go back to, as what were they saying, like brunch? Like, oh, we're going back to brunch now, right, in 2021, right?
Brunch is back.
Right? And so the flip side of that, right, is like, as someone who's also a storyteller, is that when I wrote Forgive Me Not, like the main characters are, like they're Chinese and Black. You know, their parenthood and their cultures are represented in the household in both those ways and in different iterations of how they recognize who they are as people and how they're growing up and having access to that, right? But the bigger conversation I wanted to have, because it takes place in Queens and I grew up in Queens, and I'm like, Queens is Queens, you know, like, I don't know this, I only was raised with white people. I don't know that life. I don't know it. So that's always how my stories look, but then when we look at the money that is made from carceral systems, the ways in which our families are complicit, the way in which we inherit that complicity. That's what I wanted to talk about, too, within the dynamic of a very representative or inclusive environment, but one that is still penalizing and criminalizing and weaponizing things against our young people and our communities in general. So when I go to talk to teens and high schools, I'm like, so what are your belief systems? Like, why do you believe this? They're like, well, if you steal, you should go. And I'm like, yeah, but what happens then? Well, you should do that, but why do you believe that? Not you're wrong, that's not it, but why do you believe this? Well, I believe this because that's what I've seen, that's what I've heard, this is what I think. And I was like, okay, so let's drill down deeper to that, right? And in creating like educators' guides and tools for educators to look within the systems of like what is, what has to be the ELA standards and all that thing. How do we create bigger questions where the kids really, really interrogate the systems and have real life examples to point to of Black and brown children being penalized because they were depressed and couldn't do their homework, and then, were sentenced to go back to juvenile detention because they were seen as a problem. And how do we have those conversations with people, not just young people, but anybody, and allow that space for that? And I think that's, like, Ibram's a great guy. He's the one who wrote the, but that's what he wanted for his book, right? He wanted that deeper interrogation. But if it sells millions and millions and millions of copies, which again is great from a financial standpoint and right a visibility standpoint, those deep questions aren't happening. Or he can't be present for all those deep questions, or he can be there and you feel like it, and then you're in your feelings, but you're not listening. Versus when we're in the room and we're really sitting there doing that like heart work, that soul work, that community work, that interrogation work, how are we really questioning our belief systems, and how do we keep that questioning going so that when things like this happen and fascism escalates to where it is, we're like, oh, this is where I can see where it started. Not, this came out of nowhere. Like, no, this has been here. Why is it, and where is our belief systems gonna take us to the next level? And so I see like those ways in which storytelling really abounds, but it does it in different ways too. Not just in these kind of like, how do we do movement work, but also how do we take care of ourselves? How do we take care of each other? How do I learn more empathy? How do I, just tell a really fun story that allows us to see representation in a very different way? So, sorry, that was a lot of words.
No. That was words. Thank you.
Can you tell me the question again?
Sure. The question was, how can stories or storytelling help to bridge divides, especially when it comes to race, how we see each other, how we interact with each other?
Is that coming from this?
Oh, you want to try this one? Or were they too close?
Okay. There you go. I guess, you know what, I take issue with the pressure that asks us to be a bridge in the first place. Because we need conflict, and everybody's very afraid of conflict right now because everything's on their phone, they can repost it, and then that means that they're sort of off the hook from having to deal with other people. We've been in the house for years, right? And now everybody is like, oh my God, how do I talk to this person? How do I? And like me too, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I see everybody kind of doing that, but I think coming up in a multicultural family, there was always, well, you're the bridge. You're the person that can tell people about, like, I've met people in my, I would say when I was 28, I had an agent who didn't know what Filipino was. So we are, I see you have a whole stack of books here. You read. I don't have to worry about you. But, and quiet as it's kept, like Black women are the most educated group of people in this country. So I'm concerned, not with being a bridge, but I'm concerned with the fact that people don't know that conflict can lead to connection. And so as that person who is often said, well, you grew up in this multicultural family, you've had all these experiences of talking to all these different people. Yes, and let's think about the architecture of a bridge. A bridge leads you from one place to the other place. Why would I want to be a bridge for somebody to cross over? Like, why would I want to do that? Because oftentimes when you are that person who's in the in-between, there's an expectation that you are supposed to educate, that you are supposed to bring people together, that is your job to do all of these things, and that is a story that hasn't served us for many generations. So I just think that it's about time that it's like you said, like people have this book, but they don't have any, there's no practice outside of the house.
Yeah.
And when people had that book, the only practice they had was going to the grocery store, going to a protest, or being at home sick. So I think that this is an ongoing question that we have to ask ourselves. And then as artists, I think that, and as people, everybody's an artist. You create your life. You create the house, your thoughts become the house you live in, your actions dictate how your life goes. And if you are Black, or if you are Indigenous, or if you are not white, then you have a lot of barriers to entry. There's a lot of disruption. So I guess my question is, how do we hold each other in that disruption so that each person feels bold enough and feels comfortable to build the capacity to actually tell their story? Who cares about who's gonna see it? Who cares about reading your post? Like, you have to live with yourself at the end of the day, and I feel like it starts in real life, in person. So I hope that answers.
That's so good. Thank you.
And I think situating us, or situating this too with how relationships have changed since the pandemic. This was obviously a pre-pandemic conversation too, but just, I think sometimes people think being in loving community means that there is never conflict. When in fact, like, if I love you, if I care enough about you, we need to have productive conversations about the future of how we relate to each other, how we show up for each other. And I think that nuance is often lost because of everything you just laid out, so I really appreciate that. And I think you've also teed up the next question, I think, really well. All of you are working as artists, but you're also working in such a way that activism and organizing shows up in your work or sort of alongside your work. And that's heavy, that's a lot to navigate. And I'm wondering how one perhaps informs the other, so how your activism informs your creative practices, and then how your creative practices sort of inform your activism, and then what does care, like, for oneself look like in all of that? Because it's a lot to carry, it's a lot to work through, and so, yeah, how do you sit with all of those things or work through all of those things?
I begrudgingly organize, I think, because when you're in a racialized body, you don't really have the choice. And then, like, I'm always, like, sitting and asking myself, like, all right, well, how much privilege do I have? And, like, always interrogating that, right? Because there has to be some level of comfort of being the first person to enter a space because of how history is set up. Like, I have family members that, like, one was the first Black senator in Massachusetts. Like, that's huge. Like, I have family members who have done things that they were, like, the first to do this thing. And I'm like, that's wild, because I know I've been the first to do a lot of things, and then I'm like, why was that? Why is that the case? And then you just call your grandparents and they'll tell you, So I guess one piece of advice that was given to me by one of my mentors, she said, George C. Wolfe told her this, there are people who blow up the room, there are people who feed the room, and there are people who infiltrate the room. And you have to do one of these, all the time, or maybe you have to cycle through which one of those that is. And I feel like that's especially important in this particular time, in this particular episode of the apocalypse. Not everybody's gonna survive it, right? And so in the year of the snake, I feel like we have to move in silence. We have to be really, really strategic about how we're infiltrating, how we're blowing up, how we're feeding our peers, and be comfortable, like, cycling through each of those things. So how do I feel supported and cared for? I feel supported and cared for when there's no pressure for me to create anything in particular. There's no pressure for me to be great. There's no pressure for me there's room for me to fail. There's room for, me to rest. And I also feel like I get that from my family, but that's also a privilege, right? To have, like, aunts that I can call and be like, what did you do during this time in history? How can you help me survive now? Because I know I need to toughen up, or I know I need to soften in this area. So I'm always asking myself, what is required of me? And again, this is how I say, like, shadow work is artistry, and we are all artists. So what is required of us to sort of let go of some of that baggage or free ourselves from pressures that are imposed upon us? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to go next? I'm still
Zaman, okay, yeah. Yeah, if I remember the question accurately, and I love that trifecta. That makes a lot of sense to me, like who does what, and how that kind of is a continuous kind of Ouroboros thing where it's like a loop. I think for me, because I'm in a lot of meetings. So many meetings. You relate, right, Daphne? You know, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just like work meetings where you're just like, this could have been an email. It's like organizing meetings, you know what I mean? It's like where people are like, these are our next actions and these are what we're doing. And it's learning like the ways in which engagement. It's learning the ways in which we talk to one another. It's learning in which the ways that people self-correct or are corrected and take correction. And it's always, to me, the long game. And I think that kind of ties into writing, right? Like, what happens next? What happens next? What happens next? Whether you're doing short form or long form, you're like, what happens next? What happens next? And what is the catalyst for this? Where do we start? Where does we end? And that can be very contained within a story, right? Even though a story can be infinite. And at the same time, like, this work is infinite, right? And I think that's often, you know, going to places like Race Forward or 22CI, and these things are like they happen every 2 years, so one happens 1 year and then one happens the other year. And that's a massive gathering of like organizers in various areas of social justice. And there's like, you know, 2 years ago, Mara Jones was like, y'all, this is what's coming, and it's happened. Exactly what she said was gonna happen. And I just was in this room, because I worked in a nonprofit for a good years before I came back to publishing, and everyone, we did this kind of board where it was like Post-its. And then you're like doing these quadrants of like low impact, high yield, da 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 da. And you just see it was like all colorful, right? Because every Post-it is denoting something else. And there's this big group huddle, because you have different organizers from different rural cities. Those who are doing voting, those who are doing labor, those who are doing reproductive justice, those who are doing agriculture and farming. And you have all these folks in the different room from all these different regions. And we're not arguing per se, but you see how scattershot the work is, right? It's like we are so spread out thinking about all the ways in which we have to help each other. There is not a cohesion until we come to these conferences. And it's not to say that people aren't trying to, and it's not to say people aren't doing that work on individual levels, but just like we had a literal image, an illustration of just like, this is why that is progressing, because we are all over the map for things that are really important. And sometimes I kind of like look at storytelling like that in ways in which we're trying to bring together one thing while thinking about a lot of things. So that's the teacher in me and the editor in me thinking. But it just kind of keeps me in these meetings where I'm just like, but what is this? What will this do? Who is it impacting? How are we doing this? What are we doing? And so it's like, I feel like this is organized chaos, y'all, but so, there's a sense, right? But it's like, it's that tie-in, right? Because this work is continuous, it's fluid, it requires so much energy, and at the same time, you're looking everywhere. So it's kind of a hard question, because at one point, you're like, can someone just do it? Can someone just do it? But we're all doing it every day. And I think that's what also helps me in the self-care, right? Therapy one, and you know, being able to pay out of pocket for that is a privilege. But what sustains me is recognizing that I need to pace myself, because when I look at a Post-it like that, I'm like, oh crap, how do I help? You know, I go into this mode, but it's like, Jen, you're not supposed to take care of this whole Post-it board. That's not how that's not how this works. It's you pick a point and you collaborate and you do all this and you do all that. And so that's kind of where my mind is. It's kind of everywhere at once. And I don't know if it's like the Aquarius in me, the New Yorker in me, being on too much social media, and I'm just like 85 tabs at one time. like I don't know, but I think it's like twofold, right? It's like, when you're in these spaces and seeing all these beautiful faces and recognizing the work, it heartens you and it uplifts you. so that you know you're not alone, but you know that there's a lot of work to do. And then there are methods where when you're in these meetings and you're kind of recognizing the ways we talk about things and the people engage, that you can probably bring that into your craft to understand how story works as you're composing it. That's the more succinct version. So thank you for letting me ramble.
I'll start with self-care first because I don't really know, but I do know that when I was in the audience during the performance that just happened, that felt like what, thank you so much for organizing and performing and being here together, because that felt like exactly what I needed in that, in this moment in time. It felt very joyful. It felt very creative, vibrant, embodied. So that to me was a reminder of the sorts of things that, the types of spaces that we all need to continue to create together. And in the same way, it's, there's so much work that goes into organizing, but that book fair upstairs is also like the generosity, like I feel like what I'm gleaning from this type of space, it feels to me like a form of care, right? It's the care work of generosity. That's what I feel, joy, defiance. We are the center. We are reaching across each other. All of that feels like a great way for us to continue to think about, like, this is building community, this is building together through literature, through performing arts. All of this is vital work, so thank you for that. And I guess activism, I don't know how strongly I self-identify as an activist, but I did some important organizing work in my own small community when I used to run a nonprofit organization that imploded over Palestine, and so what happened was we needed to organize together, and what enabled that organization was our deep bonds with one another. So I guess, it was in microcosm, so I got fired, but then we ousted the board, I'm coming back in like 2 months or something, so it went through this cycle where I was learning in real time in microcosm, the sorts of things that happen when power freaks out or glitches or whatever, or does what it does. And I was just listening to other people who were very seasoned organizers, and some portion of it was like, it's like, let's try everything. So we just did that. We just threw everything at it, and it worked. It taught me something, which was that power, it is actually exhausting to be in power and to be hated and to be that evil and to exert all this amount of, think that eventually some of these evil people, they're gonna fizzle out too. There is, as exhausted as we feel, you think that on the other side they're just chilling, they're not, So there was something about that was very, very demonstrative, the fact that we are more than they are, the fact that, everybody has a motive. That was extremely helpful. My friend texted me yesterday, said, "Oh, your book is coming out at the end of the month. I'm so sorry that it's coming out at such a horrible time." I was like, but I think my book is exactly, all our times are terrible, but no good time to publish. No, but
When was the good time?
Yeah. I write about the Vietnam War. It's 50 years after the end of the war, and something, to me, it's like the work that I'm doing is of the world. It's not it's one and the same. I can't separate it from the time that we're living in. So I feel like, no, it's the right time, or any time would be the right time because our world is shit. I don't know what to say about that. And poetry is beauty, and poetry is making meaning, and poetry is also contending with history. So for me, it is the time, and I don't know what else to say, but I'm just very I'm so grateful for both of you, and all of you all for this thinking together, because it was nice to hear our different approaches, our different ways of thinking about organizing, because my parents aren't activists or organizers in that traditional sense, but they survived a war, and they got wily and they made it, you know, in some ways enough to make space for me, and they're incredible storytellers. So I think like to understand that I might not have like a specific model of organizing, but I have other models in front of behind me and alongside to continue to learn toward. So I feel like really grateful for that.
That's a really beautiful ending, I think. Oh, do we? Oh, amazing. Okay. Take that back. Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful. You all have really pulled beautiful threads throughout this entire conversation, but I'm really reflecting on any time is the right time. We are not meant to be doing this immediately. This is a durational project. This is a group project. Find your place, find the work that you want to be doing or the way that you can be showing up. And I think that's the kind of lesson that we need forever. Like there's never not a time when we need that. I wanted to open it up to the audience to see if there are any questions. Oh, I see one hand in the front.
I have like 7 questions.
Okay.
Maybe one. I guess like, thank you all for sharing like these very different perspectives. It was like very refreshing to hear. I guess like, this is, I guess like everybody can answer, but one thing I'm wondering is like, do you think that like, we like, everybody like artists and everyone like, should we be like trying to do more of our, because everything is terrible and feels terrible, we like can take this calamity, should more of our work be focusing on trying to like protect and uplift our own individual communities, or trying to directly conflict with like the empire, or like all of the many intersecting systems of oppression?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think about this a lot. I think right now, just from based on what I'm seeing, I feel like there's a lot of pressure for us, especially it's like we can go to the job, right? And we can be like, why are you always bugging me to teach you about how to be a good person? You know what I mean? That's a lot of pressure. But what if we just went into work or went into our friend groups and instead we just let ourselves be inspired by the work that people are doing for themselves, right? Like, what if we just figured out how can we inspire this person or make them feel good or make them, because it reminds you that you're a human. And right now, the dehumanization and the fact that people are trying to re-indigenize themselves at the same time as we're in a genocidal fucking apocalypse, what are we, I'm thinking about when I go to take the MTA and there's an older Caribbean woman and she is like, she's on cloud 9. Why is she so happy? How do I get happy to be like her? And she's like elderly and she's figured it out. And I don't know how she's figured it out, but that's where I want to be, because she makes me say, all right, she's been here for some time. So like, if I just find things that make me feel joy and engage in those things that make me feel joyful, then I have the capacity to deal with the harsh reality that we're all in the middle of a shitstorm right now. So that's my very woo answer.
I think that's a great answer. Thank you. I think we all have our different roles to play. So just back to the microcosm organizing moment, I was like, it was so interesting to be, okay, there's, the person who is kind of annoying, but they have a really good role to play because they're loud. Like you need them, you need all kinds. Like you said, you need someone who's gonna feed others and be, and then you have these loud people and they're annoying, but wow, you really come through when you need them, right? So I think that we all have a different role to play, and that people need us all. Like, people need all the things that you can produce or write and think about. And I think a lot about this, grief is not one emotion. There's a simultaneity to all of it. You could be, crying while you're washing dishes, but you could also be having a great meal with a friend. You could and that's not, and to forget for moments of time. And I feel that maybe I am, as a raised Catholic, I want to feel guilty about feeling good.
That Catholic guilt's too.
You shouldn't get to feel good ever, but that's not the truth of grief, or that's not the truth of war or genocide or fascism or whatever we're going through. We have all of these valences within our lives, and to allow ourselves to have that simultaneity or the multiplicity feels important.
Yeah, I think it's important to both y'all's points is you don't have to pick one, right? Today I wrote for an hour. I'm coming here. I'm gonna do some admin, because that's, if you need me in the revolution, I'm the admin person.
Shout out to the project managers.
I will get your spreadsheets in order. I'll get your permits. I'm that person. You know what I mean? To your point, knowing your role. So it's I compartmentalize my day in the ways that I can be for me, can be for my partner, and can be present for the things that I've committed to. And we also have to recognize what it might, crescendo to. Right? And be protective of ourselves and our community, and look into how mutual aid is going to benefit in a bigger way than us relying on politicians, right? And so I think that education and awareness is really crucial, so that we're constantly looking after ourselves as well as building with each other, because it can escalate, and it will escalate, and it has escalated. But y'all have both said of how are we finding our joys and tapping into that and not having to pick one. Maybe today's the day I do this, but today's the do I do that. But continually get rest. That is important. And hydrate. I'm an Aquarius, the water bearer.
Simple thing. I just wanted to add one simple thing to your question. Artists don't stop making music because of war, because of any of that stuff. So like Kendrick said, mustard.
I think I saw a hand in the very back. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I'm Filipino, and in my culture there's a lot of oral storytelling, but not a lot of it is written down, just because at least my grandmother's generation, war and several years of colonization has caused them to be illiterate and have no access to education. So I guess I was curious if you ever felt as storytellers, how do you navigate the grief or guilt of not being able to capture every essence of a culture, or I guess a history, because it's a part that's essentially inaccessible because of colonial erasure. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
As a Filipino, I always think about kapwa, and I always think about how I belong to you and you belong to me. And I think a lot about when we're in space with one another and what we can learn from one another. Just because we can't find it in a book doesn't mean that knowledge doesn't exist. And so I think the calling to, because we're in this place of collective remembering, right? And this is something that Filipinos talk about all the time. As an African American, there's so much that was stolen and lost, but I find out so many answers that I'm looking for as an African American from my Filipino history, right? Because all of it is connected. So I think the responsibility for us as young people is to just sit and listen to our elders. That's it. All you gotta do is listen. They'll tell you, because there's little love notes in the, for my granddad still burns incense. Why does he burn certain incense at certain times? He doesn't know, but I can find a book now, he's 96, that tells me exactly where that comes from. So I think it's being patient and also just listening and gathering as much information as you can. Like, we can't get that back, but we can try to keep that alive in each other.
I'll give my woo-woo answer. I think for me as a poet, something that I had to contend with was the grief. Like, I never got to talk to my grandmother. She was in Vietnam, and I met her at 22 and she died. So we never had a conversation. And all my other grandparents died like when my parents were born so I don't have access to this previous generation. So what I do as part of my poetic practice is I listen. I listen and I transcribe and I ask questions and I listen for the answer and it comes to me. So there's a way that I feel that poetry is oftentimes this kind of seance, like this type of movement of deep listening and you translate through your body's knowledge. It might be in English, right? First of all, it might be through your own life experience, but there's some combination. And that has helped me kind of deal with the grief of loss or erasure, because there is a sense, the truth is, I think about blood, and I carry the DNA of, not only just like my ancestral line, so they're alive within me, but all kinds of things. We ingest water, and like we belong to each other in all of these physical, tangible ways. Like, whatever. I just wrote a poem yesterday about like dropping period blood and shit into the toilet. I'm like, eventually that goes into the soil. Eventually that we're like eating each other, and like there's something. Yeah, I know. But there is something that it feels like. Loss, death, all of these things are so sad and traumatic, and there's also life within that loss.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's reclamation, right? Because to your point, I grieve a lot that I didn't listen to my grandmother more because I didn't ask more questions, and she would have been very willing to give me that, right? And so those who are remaining that I am able to interact with, it's doing similarly, is like listening, recording, transcribing, journaling, even if it's like those tidbits that might come to you, because certain things can come to you, especially as people, but as also artists. Like, I remember this, like, so journaling is a very like active practice for me of what I remember this thing, I remember that thing, because there can be the fear as time goes on, like what gets lost or what gets repressed without you knowing it. And so I think those kind of ways that we record and engage are really, really important to what you said, as well as the fact that it exists in what we continue to create and imagine, and in what we found already, similar to your point as well. And so it's never really lost. Like, if you think about Chelsea T. Hicks, she's like, there's an indigenous language that is literally being forgotten. I am taking that up. That is my mission and my work. It is, I'm not simply writing in English, I am also writing in a language that was taken from my people as an indigenous woman. And, like Natalie Diaz using a lot of her grant money or time and being like, I'm engaging with elders constantly because I don't want to lose these languages. And so maybe that's a mantle some folks want to take up, maybe that's not your bailiwick. But that is also, it leaves opportunity for us if that is something that is really that like true heart work that we want to take on.
That is the hard work that we want to take on. Yeah, thank you so much. Please, warm applause for this amazing panel. Thank you so much. Thank you for just being here with us. I think that's it for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Rohan.
Let's give it up one more time for this amazing, amazing panel. Daphne Lundi, Carmen LoBue, Jennifer Baker, Cathy Linh Che.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So, someone reminded me to introduce myself, which I haven't done all day. Hi, I'm Rohan. I'm a dancer, novelist working on a book, great for the query trenches, woo! And yes, I am so proud to say I chose to do a lot of the traumatic bridge work, which we're gonna talk later. But yes, this is my baby, the Blasian March, and this is our 5-year anniversary of organizing. So, thank you all for coming out. Thank you to our performing artists, Olivia, Valwaa, and Shakti dancers, Magenta, the Illustrious Pearl, International dancer Zaman. Okay, I want to thank, in a particular order, our hosts, Immigrant Social Services, Fire Chicago for the PPE, Chatham Square Public Library for more books, Scholastic, Haymarket, Apicha Community Health Center, Brooklyn Book Bodega, Reading for Black Lives, the Asian American Writers Workshop, NYU Langon, South Queens Women's March, the Chinese Progressive Association, the Caribbean Equality Project, Sita Press, Welcome to Chinatown. Oh my gosh, all that outreach made this event happen, so I'm grateful to all those organizations. Huge thanks to our ASL team for making this accessible. Thank you. To our AV team, also for accessibility, thank you so much. Our photographer, Rain, somewhere, okay, our videography team, all of the volunteers, wherever you are, thank you for making this happen. All of our book partners. So, fun fact, for folks who donated or sponsored, the money went directly into Black and Asian-owned bookstores across the city. So, this year, we increased our budget by 25%. And we were able to invest $500 into UNE Books, Café con Libros, the Lit Bar, and Word Alchemy Bookstore. Each got $500 today, so. And last but not least, thank you to all of you for being here, choosing to be in community in these really shitty apocalyptic times. Thank you for choosing this. Thank you for choosing joy. Yeah, do we feel like? Say what? When or what? When? Oh my goodness, that's right. Coming up next. Episode 2, Season 5 of the Blasian March. June 7th is our annual Blasian Pride Rally. We are celebrating Black, Asian, and Blasian LGBTQ+ people through performance art, speeches, food, all the things, details forthcoming. Okay, am I done? Oh my God, I'm almost done. Do we we have time to have capacity to close out with a little singing chant? Does that feel good? Okay. Okay, this is very Blasian March traditional. Lip roll, let's go. This is basically a mashup of, my mind went blank, wow. Oh, it's a mashup of Asad Shakur and Grace Lee Boggs. So feel free to repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. Hey, it is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. We must love and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. 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 We are the leaders we've been looking for. 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 Thank you. This concludes the 2025 Blasian March Book Fair. All right, y'all, get some snacks, get them drinks downstairs, get more free books. There's more books of Cathy's. There's also some copies of Jennifer Baker's book upstairs. Hello. All right, good night, y'all. Be safe.